and scores! Great move by Davies. Well, this would be something. Oh! Ausgezeichnet! Brian White chips. It'll make it!
Welcome back to another episode of Caps Cast presented by Whitecaps Fan TV. My name is Matt, and as always, I am joined with my co-host Damien.
Hey everyone, how you doing?
And so we're about to dissect the craziest downturn, I think, that we've seen in a while.
Well, would you say since last year?
Yeah. Potentially, I guess. I don't know. This is
There's a lot to say.
It's a lot to say, and it's been very, very frustrating. And I've got some surprising stats we're gonna pull up in a little bit here. But I think the first thing and what everybody is waiting for is the breakdown of the LAFC game.
Yeah, it was I don't know, like, so being in the stadium there, both Matt and I went onto the MLS website thing, the Apple TV thing, and we've both watched the recap recently, as well as going to the game on Saturday. If you were in the stadium on Saturday, it was a very different game to what you saw on the recap. The recap made the game look very, very end-to-end. I don't think that was the case. I think we got bossed a little bit off a more aggressive LA team. We had a few moments where we were good on the counter and things, but I don't think we ever took control of the game or anything. Like, the recap was very misleading if you've watched that, in my eyes.
Yeah. It made it look like you said, the game was really stretched, end to end. But I guess let's preface this. So this is the last home game of the season for us. There's been some talks on Reddit, which is a crazy wormhole to unravel. So the stadium was 30,000 people, so they say, with the upper bowl open. One thing that was kind of pointed out on Reddit was that this LA game was sold as a 4-pack bundled with the Inter Miami game. So
okay.
So if you remember at the start of the season when they announced Inter Miami, they started this like 4-pack of games, and it basically was Inter Miami, LA, and then there was 2 other games, which I mean we could look into, but I don't think it really matters.
It was the opening game, was it not? Did we not have the ball was
okay.
the opening weekend?
Yeah, it was the opening game, the Inter Miami game, the LA game, and then one other.
Yeah.
So I think the attendance is a little inflated due to that.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
So it kind of distorts the atmosphere a little bit. So I also, as we're walking to the stadium, I said, oh, let's check Reddit because I wonder how many people are giving away tickets. And it was like a full page of people saying, hey, I can't go. This is rescheduled. I can't make the reschedule, blah, 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 blah. It's Easter Sunday. So yeah. The recap basically shows us playing end to end, but I think that was such a different than what we actually saw.
Yeah, so like right from the beginning, right? Like we go a goal down in, I think it was like 38 seconds. Got to be a record, realistically, for one of the fastest goals we've conceded at home. It was quite embarrassing. The goal itself, I thought, was Utvik. I've really praised him all season. He's had like a couple of games where I've been a bit off on him, but for the majority of the season, I've really praised this guy, and I would have him in my strongest back 3. But the way he had a head start of maybe 3 or 4 yards on the attacker They were both running the same direction. He should have been cutting that ball out. He should not be getting beat off the attacker there, in my opinion. Even if you've got to just put a bit more like of yourself onto the attacker as you're both running for the ball, like realize that you're not going to get to the ball first and weigh into the attacker, put yourself into him, just like even get some shoulder contact. But he did nothing. He just got beat to the ball, which the finish, to be fair, was very good. Like the little dink of attack as he was coming out. It was a very good finish, but I just feel like Utvik could have done more and probably should have done more for that goal.
And it's interesting because the finish too is Takeoka kind of rushing out to cut the angle. And I don't think he ever expected to get chipped.
No. It was a tight angle, like you say. It was the angle, he narrowed it down. It was running that way. It was running to like the left of the box sort of thing. And yeah, it was just a very, very good finish.
In any other circumstance, I think the angle's cut out completely. Takeoka's kind of bailed Utvik out, but I don't think they were expecting a world-class finish.
Yeah. And then basically for the first half though, it was, and we've got to, I think it's worth saying here and worth noting as well, that going into the game, we had 6 players called up for international duty in Ryan Gold, Ali Ahmed, Adakube, Fafa, Vite, and Kubas. And another one that was out injured, not even on the bench, was Armstrong. So that's effectively 7 players who, yeah, like you'd say the starting players, they would get into that squad. Every single one of them players gets into the squad realistically. Whereas LA had 3 players out. So we've put out a much changed squad against LA that aren't really missing that much. So I don't want to shit on the guys too much because I think they did a fairly good job for the team that was out there.
Totally.
But I do think it was just, we were very, very much bossed around in the middle of the pitch. And we were just good on counter-attacks. I think we had a bit of pace on the ball when we were actually counter-attacking, but I didn't feel for any moment in that game that we were going to win the game. There wasn't, like at the stadium though, there wasn't a moment where I thought to myself, oh, we're going to turn this around and actually win this. It was, after that first goal, I honestly thought, oh shit, we might concede 3 or 4 here.
Yeah, I was kind of looking around being like, what's the number then when the exits start clogging up with people. Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think it was a tale of 2 halves. The first half we really got bossed around. It just felt like LA had complete control of the game. In terms of possession too, it felt like they were just holding on. Giroud was there but not finishing. I think there was like a couple chances that he had, not necessarily on target, but were there.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, the first half, basically, I just felt like the Caps were kind of out to lunch, and you could tell Vanny's frustrated, screaming at everyone. But I think the game kind of opened up a little bit more in the second half. I think the first half was just a complete bossing around.
Oh yeah,
of us.
No, I agree with that as well, and I agree with the second half analysis saying that it opened up. I really do think it did. Whatever Vanny said at halftime definitely worked. There seemed to be a bit more urgency about the Whitecaps play right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite nice to watch. And then, yeah, I think it was around the 62. 62nd minute, we get the equaliser through the own goal. But let's be honest, the ball in from Berhalter.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Like, he was 50. I know I've said this before, but he was $50,000. That's all the Whitecaps paid for him. $50,000.
And it's funny too, because Sean had told me before during the Pacific game, like on the broadcast, that they were saying he was training with NFL kickers and things like that to work on his set piece delivery. And then ever since he pointed that out to me, I've noticed that there has been an increase in quality from his deliverance on set pieces.
Oh yeah, honestly, the whip on that ball into the box, like there's so much power. It's so low. Well, it's not even low. It's just like the perfect height in. Like a flick off anybody probably would have took it past the goalkeeper.
Yeah. So Blackman jumps up, and then we all thought it went in straight from the set piece. Like I didn't think it touched anyone. And then I think you said, "Oh, it's an own goal. It's an own goal." And I was like, "No. It looks like it hits Blackman," but you couldn't really tell. Then the MLS come out at the end of the game when they finalize all the stats, and they do declare it an own goal.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so this is the most interesting topic that I want to bring up to you. 64th minute, Caicedo comes on. Okay. Do you feel Caicedo should have started over Levante Johnson? Given that Vanny runs his 3-5-2 formation with the two wingbacks, and he sets up two strikers, do you feel that Caicedo should have started over Levante Johnson?
I don't know, because I've honestly, since Caicedo came back, I've not really seen enough of him. He's not done enough to really, for me to warrant a place like starting on the team. Saying that, has Levante Johnson, I think this team selection was purely out of having to select this team. Because even for like the midfield there, it would have been nice to maybe put somebody else in midfield and have an actual 3-2-3-1, I think. No, wait. Yeah, you know, oh, sorry. The formation, what I mean is like, so you've got your three defenders, your two like holding, three attacking midfielders, sort of thing, and then your attackers again, right?
Yeah.
So I think it could have been, had we have had the players available, running something like that might have been a little bit more effective, but yeah, I don't know. I think this whole team selection was just done purely out of what was available.
So let me throw some stats at you, because I think Caicedo should have started over Levante Johnson in this situation. Levante Johnson passes 8 of 10. Caicedo 13 of 14, with 2 of those being progressive passes. Obviously, Levante Johnson is a striker. I don't think they're going to be progressive regardless. Probably more back or to the side, playing it across.
Yeah.
So can't really fault him for that. But what I will kind of say is that Levante Johnson had 3 attempted take-ons, with 1 being successful. Caicedo had 2 with 1 being successful. And Caicedo obviously played less minutes the entire match. Another one which I thought was really interesting is Levante Johnson had 11 carries, with 0 of them being progressive, whereas Caicedo had 12 carries, with 1 of them being progressive. And that's the stat that kind of sticks out to me, is the progressive carries. Because as your striker, your only carries should really be progressive.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, actually. Yeah, based on what you've said there, like the statistical analysis of it, then yeah, Caicedo probably should have been starting over. And you know what? Maybe had they started Caicedo, they could have played him just behind White.
Yeah.
It was like almost like a shadow striker, so to speak, just playing slightly off him.
Shout out to the Reddit thread that I read that kind of pointed that out today. And then when I was getting ready, I looked at all the stats and I was like, oh, they're 100% bang on that Levante Johnson. I mean, okay, let's not use this as a platform to like shit on players and punch down at them, but I really don't feel like he has a place in this team anymore.
No, I think there's a few players on that team there now that definitely need to go. Yeah. But I also think that when the season ends, whether it be after the one playoff game and we get knocked out there or whenever, I think we'll jump into that and actually
So okay,
who we think, what we think should happen with everyone. We'll even throw Vanny into the mix and have a say on that as well.
Okay, so Caicedo comes on in the 64th minute, and then that's kind of when I felt that the game changed a little bit, just a little bit more urgency, a little bit more pace. I don't think he's tall enough to be a target man striker, which is unfortunate thing to say, but I feel like he was creating space. And then essentially the game kind of goes back and forth, and that's when I felt like it was a little bit more stretched. The Whitecaps definitely were a bit more progressive in up the field, really basically trying to create an opportunity, and just unfortunately couldn't. And then so finally in the 82nd minute, Johnson and Raposo come off, and on comes Krelek, who I feel has been underperforming for us, but also hasn't really got the opportunity to perform. I feel like it was kind of like always like going to be like an emergency break glass, and Krelek's there to kind of fill in. And then Bovalina comes back in to fill in. And I feel like LA kind of just like really sat back, weathered the mediocre storm. Would you call it mediocre rainfall?
I don't know about that, you see, because there were two headed chances for Brian White alone that honestly, like I was gonna say 9 times out of 10 he'd have finished them, but like he missed 2 of them in a game, so I guess 8 times out of 10 he finishes them 2 goals. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like the first one was a very difficult one. The ball comes in quick, he glances it, and it goes probably a foot wide of the post. Lloris was like stranded. He would not have got anywhere near it had it been on target.
Lloris was caught flat-footed.
Yeah, and then the second one, same sort of thing, comes in from the other side. He gets a great head on it again, just a little bit too much, and puts it over the bar. But I really do think like 8 out of 10 games, though, Brian White is scoring them 2 chances.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't feel like we can fault him for it. I feel like you said, maybe it was an off night. Also, the fact that you've conceded in the first minute and now you're finally getting service in like the 80+ minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you're right, is that like he finishes those chances. I mean, before the game you would have said 9 out of 10, but after the game probably 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah. But I don't know. I also think after that, like after the 60th minute, though, Berhalter's, I think he's a confidence player because he gets the assist on the goal. Realistically, I know it's going to go down as an own goal and it won't have an assist, but he basically gets the assist on the goal. His performance level, to me, went up tenfold.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. I do think that he is such a confidence player, and when he's done something like that, it just gives him such a like massive internal boost. And it'd be nice if we could maybe win a game or two to actually be able to generate that confidence for him going into the next game. So like he's starting full of that like same energy, and bringing that out from the like whistle.
I think like you also said this to me maybe during the game, is you were like, he is such a player that kind of steps up in the absence of Gald.
Yeah, it is.
Which I thought was bang on, specifically in this match. Just because, like you said, he was such a confidence player. He was taking all of the set pieces, every corner, he's running in, grabbing the ball, providing really great service. And he kind of really just stepped up in that absence.
Oh, I do want to just say one thing as well there, because I know that we've done a little bit of shit talking and whatever, and not really praising the players. One player that I thought had a decent game that sort of went under the radar, and I also think it's a big game to be starting, considering you are not a starting player. You make very few substitute appearances of maybe 10-15 minutes. Was Priso in the middle of the pitch. I know we got boss in that first half, but I feel out of all the midfielders on the pitch, he was the most almost committed to the cause of defending. He was just trying to get everywhere. He was all over that pitch, and I think he just deserves a little bit of praise coming out of that.
I mean, I don't want to draw like a lot of comparisons, but he almost kind of reminds me of like a Kobe Manu. More subtle on the defensive end, like I said, sure, more subtle on the offensive end, but on the defensive side of the ball, he just is like a workhorse.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can really open Pandora's box in the sense that like there's been a lot of talks of Cubas's dad going on some sort of like media, I don't know whether it was like telephone interviews, radio or whatever, and like kind of almost doing the classic South American dad, and trying to force Cubas out of the Whitecaps, who are, that's a whole different side of things. But when I saw that, okay, hypothetically, Cubas was bought for $3 million. Say that the Whitecaps now can send him to South America. I think it was like Brazil somewhere, for $5 million, make a $2 million profit. Priso essentially, I think, walks into that holding midfield position and really runs with it.
See, I feel for that position there, if Cubas scores, they need to be looking to bring in a like-for-like replacement, like another holding midfielder that knows the position, can play the position. I don't know. I think Priso needs maybe another season or two.
That's what I mean. Like in emergency, that, $2 million money is on the table. Is it going to be there next season? I don't know. Like if we take it now and the ownership or Schuster kind of says, hey, we've got Priso, we're going to kind of roll the dice on it. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that if a like-for-like player cannot be slotted in.
That'd be fair enough, I suppose. I'd worry about it a lot. I really would, because I just don't feel. I think he did a good job, but I think there's a difference there between doing a good job on a one-off game and then continuing that form all the way through a season.
Yeah.
And I don't think he'd have the stamina to go through a whole season being so young as well.
Yeah, and that's something that could come to light, right? But with all this talks of Cubas leaving, I was like, kind of just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
That he also led the team with tackles, plus interceptions.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite good, considering, he's a 22-year-old midfielder that, like you said, doesn't get a lot of first starting minutes. He's going to come on at the end. But he was definitely a standout for me.
Yeah.
The second standout too, I felt like, was Blackman. I feel he had a really good game on the left-hand side. kind of contained everyone. He was up there for set pieces, kind of doing what he normally does,
Yeah.
and not leading really to any errors, which is the biggest thing for a defender.
Yeah, one of my favorite things with him as well is he's got such a nice ping on him when he picks the ball up, and he's done it in a few games now, like back to back, and he picks it up about the halfway line, and he plays a diagonal ball across the pitch, and it's honestly a thing of beauty to watch because, like, again, 9 times out of 10, he gets it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so nice to actually watch them balls sail over the top like that. He's a very, very good ball playing defender, really.
He is, and he's kind of on that left-hand side, which I do like. It's kind of cool to see him and Berhalter work together, knowing that they almost play opposite sides too, right? So they're constantly, like you said, kind of changing direction, like changing play. I think the other notable thing that I wanted to point out was Kai Kamara getting booed. I've always been one to sit here and say, "Oh, I don't like Max Crepeau for how he left. I don't like this." I felt that Kai Kamara, in his seasons in Vancouver, did a very, very good job of mentoring Alphonso Davies, and I think the organization maybe dumped him.
Yeah, I
Because
agree
that
with
was
that. Actually, yeah.
that was a trade to Colorado, if you remember.
Yeah.
I feel like this is something that like we need to take like as like our loss because of how we treated him. So I didn't like seeing him get booed. I think he was very good when he played for us. Like I said, he mentored Alphonso Davies, kind of brought him along for the ride, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I liked him as well. I really did it. Well, yeah, I didn't really like him being booed. I thought that
yeah.
was a bit.
I'm all for booing former players that leave on like a shitty exit, but I felt like the Whitecaps are responsible for his exit, and I don't
Yeah.
know if that situation comes back up years ago. Like if we replay it and they keep it, if they keep Kai Kamara, like maybe he does get the same production, maybe he doesn't. It was more just the team moving on for him, not him moving on from us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he has a soft spot in my heart, whereas Maxime Crepeau does not.
Well, so if he has a soft spot in your heart, let's go back to the game though. Then, so he gets the assist
Yeah.
for the game for the goal. Sorry, that puts the nail in the coffin of that game.
Okay. We concede in the first minute. 90 plus minutes. We're sitting there, and I looked at you and said, here it comes, the counterattack of death, tied in with the most Vancouver Whitecaps thing to happen in any match is us conceding in the 90 plus minutes.
Yeah, and again, not wanting to like talk shit about a player here, but Utvik again. He first of all he gets dumped for pace. It was like he's 1-on-1 with the attacker. The attacker knocks it straight down to like the byline of the left. Utvik goes over to try and close him down, and I think somebody else goes over as well. This is where it gets bad for him. The attacker puts it through his legs and just jumps through him like he's not even there. And then it was a nice easy ball into Kai Kamara, who turned pretty easily in the box. Like nobody was. Berhalter was pretty like tight to him. I suppose you're not trying to give a penalty away either in the 94th minute, so you're a bit more. You're going to be a bit more standoffish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He plays the ball out to the edge of the box. To me, this is where the mistakes really happened. I think Blackman could have got out quicker to put pressure on that ball. Like he could have got to the midfielder. I can't remember who it was, but he could have got to the midfielder quicker to close down the angle and close down the actual opportunity to shoot. Also, Krilic, he was quite close to where that ball got played, and I think it was a little bit of ball watching. You're in the 94th minute of the game. He hadn't been on the pitch for all that long, realistically. And I think, there was a little bit of ball watching there. And then by the time you realise that, I should have reacted, it was too late. They've curled the ball around the outside of Blackman at this point because he's gone in a bit too late as well. So rather than doing anything like getting a touch on the ball, I feel like, unfortunately, all he's done in that situation is block Takaoka's view.
Yeah.
And then the ball creeps in off the inside of the post. It's just another game where, like, losing.
Tired legs, tired minds.
And think about it, man. I said to you, 3 games ago? All right, so we can get top 4 here. We need to win these games and we're good. And it has just gone to absolute garbage. Like, just nothing. It couldn't have gone any worse. And then, I do suppose as well, it's worth mentioning that after the goal, though, that they scored, I turned around to you and I was like, God, man, again. Like, let's just go.
Yeah.
And you were like, there's 2 minutes. Just wait. And to be fair, Brian White does get it again up the other end. I think it was Brian White. And does it hits the post, does it not?
Yeah.
Like, that was very unfortunate.
His third miss of the game. Third close chance.
Yeah. So I feel like based on the second half performance, especially after like maybe the 55th minute, the Whitecaps were very deserving of at least a draw. I think losing there was a bit of a kick in the teeth, realistically.
It just, I think we were deserving of a draw. I think that's where it gets a little bit, for me, I'm like, okay, well, if we deserved it, we would have seen it out. You don't deserve points, you earn them. And this was us just imploding. But yeah, we deserved a point just for how we played from the second half on. But yeah, we come away with nothing. And to be honest, in the grand scheme of things, 1 point would have really helped our cause if we can get some help on decision day. But at the same time, I think we could have been gifted 3 points and still end up where we are going to end up.
So, talking about decision day there, obviously on Saturday we play Salt Lake.
Salt Lake. Away.
So, Colorado at the moment are on 50 points and we are on 47.
Yeah.
Technically, if we win and they lose, we would have better goal difference and be on the same points. I can't remember, is the MLS done on head-to-head or is it done on goal difference?
I think it's head-to-head.
So I can't remember what the record is that we've got with Colorado this season so far, but there is a chance then if Minnesota lose and Colorado lose and we win, we could jump above both of them, and in the playoffs, I suppose, we would play
Seattle.
either Seattle or
Salt Lake. No,
is
Seattle.
It Salt Lake? Yeah.
It'd be Seattle because that's a situation where we would win.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
Okay.
But in a situation where we win and the other two teams lose, we could potentially avoid both the LA teams.
And I think that's the most, that's the biggest talking point, is exactly what you just said there. Is both LA teams sit 1-2. 64 and 61 points with the Galaxy winning the West.
Yeah.
That point total of 64 does not get them as the supporter shield. That goes to Miami, who finished on 71 points.
Boom. They've got a fucking super team, man. Like it's honestly, it should be more. There should be more criticism of the fact that they only finished on 71 points with that team. People shouldn't be
8
praising them,
draws
saying,
and
"Oh,
4
like
losses.
good job for them that they've finished on this." Like, no, you've got Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alaba, half the Argentina under-22 squad because they all wanted to play with Messi. You should that team should be curb stomping every team that they play against, finishing the season closer to like the 90 mark of points.
Realistically, they should be.
Yeah, it's no big deal or nothing to be celebrated that team got 71 points when LA Galaxy only got 64.
And I think this is the funniest thing about the MLS, and whether you love it or you hate this point, is that, okay, the Supporters' Shield, who finishes with the most points in the regular season? Nice.
Who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit? Because now we enter in North American sports, and North American sports is let's do a playoff. You got to win your way. So love the playoff format, hate the playoff format. It's here, and realistically, nobody gives a shit that you're on 71 points except for the Supporters' Shield. Supporters' Shield probably it guarantees you Champions League next year. Whatever, it's a trophy. I don't believe Miami won their domestic US Open. I think that actually went to the LAFC as well.
You're right, actually. Yeah, they did not.
Because I remember a little bit of a lead up to this game was saying that the Whitecaps versus LA was battle of the domestic champions. That's kind of how the MLS used it to market a little bit. Okay.
Sorry, Matt, just to cut you off for 1 second though. The MLS could have marketed the hell out of that.
Totally.
Like, they really could have blown that game up as, like, they could have threw it as effectively the best team in America through the domestic cup. And
specifically, too.
They really could have amped it up.
There was only 2 games. There was only 2 games on TV. On the app, on Apple TV. There was only 2 MLS play games for that match day. And they could have, you're right, they could have marketed it as, and it's not even saying that Vancouver's a small market because it's the LAFC team. You've got Giroud, you've got Lloris, 2 big French national team players, national team players. But like you said, it's the MLS being so far up Miami's ass.
Yeah.
Regardless, where was I going with this? Right. Moral of the story is, how do we avoid the LA teams? Because we have lost heavily to both this season. 4-2 to the Galaxy at one point. Who knows if everybody's healthy, or everybody wasn't playing nationally, what this game could have been. Because that threat of Bouanga is there. That's a game-changing player.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that.
So like you said, okay, let's I'm going to throw this stat out to you as well. Before we go down the multiverse of what ifs and the hypotheticals, because we love to do that. So it was kind of pointed out on Reddit last week, when I was kind of throwing it out there, being like, hey, we got a new episode. This was a disaster and masterclass. And one of the comments is that we actually have beaten on lower ranked teams, but we can't get the wins against higher ranked teams. Is this actually a disaster? Or is this us just performing exactly how we should? So I went through some back of the napkin math here I don't know where I went wrong, but I've only got 31 games calculated out of 33. So moral, moral of the
Close enough.
story is close enough. And moral of the story is those 2 missing games aren't going to make a difference in my statistics here. Okay. So I basically looked at who finished above us and who finished below us in the standings. We're using 8th place in the West is kind of that like median. So
Yeah.
who finished 8 plus in the East or whatever. Okay. So let's start with draws, because this is the kind of the one where I think me and you might say this is really, really decent. So for draws, we actually drew with 5 clubs above us and 2 below us.
Okay. That's not too well. It depends on the other ones, really. Like how the reaction.
Okay. So that's why I'm putting that one out there, because in theory that sounds not bad. Like, okay,
Yeah.
great. You're taking points off higher teams, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what do you want to hear first? The wins or the losses?
Let's do losses first.
Okay. So in losses, we've lost to 2 teams below us.
That's not bad.
But we've lost to 10 teams above us.
Of course we have, man. Like, they've all come at the end of the season here in these last, like, few games.
Okay.
No,
and
that
then let's
makes
flip
sense.
the coin. How many wins? Okay, not how many. For wins, we've only beaten 2 teams above us, but we've beaten 10 teams below us.
Yeah.
So that comment on Reddit should be pinned to the top of our threads for life, because they have completely nailed the hammer on the head of the nail there. That we essentially can't beat teams above us. We are not getting the points needed from the teams above us to escalate us up the standings.
Okay, so I suppose with that being said then, and this, honestly, there might be some people, if they were listening to this far into us, that are a bit annoyed by this, but does that show that Vanny lacks what he needs, lacks what is required to go and challenge these big teams? Like, does it show that his managerial skill set is sort of maxed out at a mid-table finish? Because we're not doing much better. If you look at the last few seasons, I think the positions have been like 13th, 8th, and I think we got 7th last season, did we? Or something.
I'm just looking at. Okay, so last season we finished in 6th.
Okay.
Played LA in the playoffs. I think we know how that went. 2022 we finished outside the playoffs in 9th. And I think that was like a decision day loss where both me and you were kind of sitting there being like, oh, this could go either way, right?
Yeah.
2021, I think that's going to be a little bit more of an asterisk, because I don't think we played at home much, right?
I also think in 2021, did Vanny not come in midway through the season?
I'd have to look at that. I'd have to pull that up.
Yeah, or was that the year before? I can't remember. Either way.
Schuster came in halfway through the season. I know that in the COVID year.
Okay.
He came in halfway through. Just quickly on my basic Wikipedia search, it says that since 2021, Vanny was the manager.
Okay, so that's where I guess that's a big question then. Maybe that's not for today's. Maybe we let them get through the playoffs before we really start ripping him to shreds.
Yeah.
I
think that's a whole episode that me and you could talk about that.
Yeah.
Because it's looking exactly like you just said.
But brace yourself, people, because we will be discussing whether or not
that is something that I think
out.
Yeah, that has to be a full-on episode because it is something circulating around us, right?
Yeah.
November 21, they announced that he would be officially be the club's new manager. He was August 2021. He took over after we sacked Dos Santos. And then we lost to Kansas City. Yeah. Okay. So halfway through, so 2021 is kind of an asterisk, I would assume, because he wasn't a full season in charge. So he's been at the helm for 3 full seasons now.
Okay.
So
Well,
I think there's enough evidence there for us to create a full 45-minute discussion, I think.
So maybe then let's do it where if you put the question out there on Reddit or Insta or whatever we upload the clip to, ask who they want to see out of the two of us. We'll do it with it being election season. We'll do it as a debate. And
Okay.
they can pick somebody who wants to debate for Vanny and somebody who wants to debate against. And then, yeah, just post a question on Reddit and Insta. Find out what the people want. And then, yeah,
Maybe we'll do that.
20, 30 minutes and dive into it at the end. Sort of thing.
We'll do that. Maybe we'll do that
after
next
the playoffs.
Yeah, after the playoffs. That'll be the first episode back. After the playoffs, we'll do a Vanny in, Vanny out if he's not out by then. Maybe he's in. Who knows?
Maybe we'll win the playoffs.
Maybe we're like still in the playoffs.
If we win the playoffs, the episode is fucking cancelled.
It's on hiatus. Okay. So basically, that guy on Reddit was 100% right that we're punching down teams and we can't scrape fucking results to save our life on teams who are finishing above us in the standings. The draws look good. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with 5 draws on teams that have finished higher than 8th place. And then also, I'm actually okay with it being 2 who finish below us because that means we're not dropping a ton of points.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was just me going through and making tallies. I didn't look into what those games are, but I think if we were to dive deeper, it might not be the end of the world. Like those 2 draws might be not the end of the world.
Yeah, they could be like realistically, they could be against Portland or anyone. So
yeah,
Portland
exactly.
Are fighting for the same position as us. So even
exactly.
Yeah.
So okay, here we go. Everybody fasten your seatbelts because now we're going to go into what ifs.
All right, here we go. Yeah.
Okay. So, like you said, let's assume that the Whitecaps pull off a miracle. We've been really good on the road and we're going to beat Salt Lake. Salt Lake, they've secured top 4. So they're just jostling with Seattle. They're actually level.
Yeah.
With Seattle. I think the tiebreaker might be wins, actually, now that I'm looking at how the MLS standings are laid out.
Okay.
I think it's wins just based on what I'm kind of seeing in the Eastern Conference. Maybe there's like a further tiebreaker down based on if you have the same amount of wins. Okay. So, okay. Okay, so Colorado are on 15 wins. So I think 6th isn't happening.
Okay.
No matter what happens. Okay, so let's not even look at the Colorado game because based on our knowledge of the tiebreaker, our assumption, that's not happening. So Minnesota on 49 points, but Minnesota plays St. Louis, who are sitting in 12th position.
Yeah,
out of 14. Nothing to play for. That game is at home for Minnesota.
Yeah.
So we're gonna need a little bit of help from our St. Louis friends, but I think a Vancouver win is not really going to help us. I think Minnesota can get a result there, whether that's
Yeah,
a draw or a win.
I think we need to get used to the idea of playing Portland for a playoff real quick.
Okay. Really, I don't even think it's real quick. I think it's like, what do you mean? Like it is what it's happening.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're just playing for home or away in that playoff game.
Okay,
The playoff for the playoffs.
So let's eliminate basically all of our other what ifs. This segment's not going as much as I hoped it would have.
It's good. It's good. We've just narrowed it right down to like the one what if.
Yeah. Okay, so Portland, basically, they take a trip up the I-5 and they're playing at Seattle. So that is a Cascadia battle.
And
A
Seattle,
little
like
bit.
you said, still playing for something as well to finish third.
Seattle are playing for that. Also the Cascadia Cup.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to pull up somebody's Instagram here to see if I can get Cascadia Cup standings, but my assumption is that Seattle can clinch the Cascadia Cup with a win that game.
Okay, maybe our best bet for the game would be conceding early to RSL, hoping that the news travels up to Seattle, who then know that they have got a win, and they just pound Portland like 3 or 4-0. So we just get the win. Well, we don't get the win, but we get the position anyway.
Man, I've got the Cascadia Cup standings on my phone. Basically, that Portland-Seattle game decides who wins the Cascadia Cup.
Oh, nice. So, yeah, there's quite a bit in it then, right? Like, especially for the fans, because it's a massive one for the fans, that. And, like, even Portland, man. Portland are still going to be fighting in that game because they will want the home advantage for that knockout. Like, at the end of the day, it's huge. Well, it's huge if you're not a Whitecaps fan, apparently.
You're not a Whitecaps
Every
game.
time we play at home, we're shit. We might be better like losing the game and hoping Portland do something just to get the away advantage.
Fuck. Okay. Let's dive further into this. Okay. So that game essentially decides Cascadia Cup. So I think, okay, let's take everything out of it. Decision day, blah, 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 blah. Those derby games are, who knows, right? Realistically, I mean, okay. So, as a Whitecaps fan, what did you just say? Would you rather play away or at home?
Yeah. Me.
Which?
Oh, you're asking the question. Me away.
Yeah.
At the moment, away. Like just because of, I've honestly been there, watched enough crap in that stadium, and seen enough very, very good performances on TV to sort of understand that we play better when we are not there. When we can't watch them in a stadium, they seem to play better.
Like, you won't take my $40 from me.
Honest to God,
okay.
Like, it's wild.
Okay, so the Whitecaps have a record of 7-5-4 on the road. Right? Not bad.
Yeah.
It's up there with one of the better it's up there with one of the better records on the road. Okay. Portland's home record 9-3-5, which is one of the better records in the West.
So, realistically, that should tell you that if both teams are fully fit, fully firing, that they are both capable of producing a very good game there. Like, I feel if we do get it away in Portland, that game sort of promises goals. Just with them stats, like, I don't know. I think it'd be... Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know, man. I really do think that the away game, I feel like the players for the Whitecaps are less stressed and less worried about doing shit wrong when they're away. So maybe there's not that like
So
little
let me
on the
drill
tour
down
type thing.
further. Let me drill this down further for you. The Whitecaps have the 5th best away record in the West. Okay? Portland have the 5th best home record in the West.
See, man, you're giving like this is all the ingredients for the perfect storm, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. I think away. What's hard? What are the away records? They must be close again. If you looked at the
Like, do you want to invert it?
record, it'll be very close because the points are close.
No. On the road, Portland are 3-8-5.
Okay,
At home, we're 6-7-4.
yeah, mate, it's one game off.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
So it looks like we've picked up more losses at home, but we've taken those wins. Yeah.
Just very, very evenly matched. It says
Yeah.
like,
So I think as a football fan, you probably would want to see the Whitecaps travel to Portland. Knowing we're good on the road, they're good at home, that's going to be a great play-in game.
yeah,
As a Whitecap supporter, do you want that game at home with the south side behind us we don't know when the game's going to be. I've heard rumors that it's going to be a weekday game. I've heard rumors that it's quite quick, like the 22nd, 23rd.
which is wild when you think that the playoffs last year ran till almost Christmas.
December. Yeah.
Like, why get it all out of the way now so you can string it out and play one game a
Well,
week?
because what happens is now once you get past that first kind of week, it goes into a best of 3, right?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
I'm trying to figure this out when the games would be. But there's talks that it's going to be the 22nd or the 23rd. Then there was also a lot of people on Reddit kind of saying if the Whitecaps are at home, it probably is the 22nd because there's something to do with like monster trucks on the 29th. So they're going to need BC Place to get all the dirt in.
Oh, God forbid we end up at the fucking Starlight Stadium in
Victoria again.
Victoria, man. Like, it's beyond a joke. The fact that we could potentially have to go and play somewhere else again in a big game. Like, buy a stadium. Like, do something so you get preferential treatment on that stadium. Like, pay the electricity bill. Do something.
Okay, so the MLS website is saying that the playoff wildcard matches will all be held on the 23rd. God knows if that's the truth. If, they come back and say, hey, we need to move in the fucking dirt. Can we push it to the 22nd? Like, I don't know if the MLS is going to be flexible. Probably they would, I assume. But this is a hypothetical. We very well could go out, drop 3 points to Real Salt Lake, sit on 47. Fucking Portland have the game of their life against Seattle, win the Cascadia Cup. Next thing you know, they've also got a home play-in game. Like, this could all shift on a dime, and we're also speaking hypothetical. What's nuts to me is then the semifinals start pretty much that weekend. They're going to start on the 26th and run till November 10th because there's the best of 3.
Okay.
And then the semifinals are also best of 3. as well as the conference finals. So that's why it kind of gets dragged out.
Yeah, okay, no, that makes sense then, yeah.
And then they've pretty much said it's going to be December 7th for the MLS Cup. So that's pretty much all in stone. I guess basically what we need to look at is, okay, we're going to get a play-in game. Very good. We're in the playoffs. Hooray. We've scraped a fucking result to get to the playoffs after, me and you sitting here for hours on end saying, we're going to get top 4. This is how we're going to do it.
Man, we were talking that we were not even just saying that we were going to get top 4. We were talking about the Caps being a top 5 team in the MLS. That's what we were talking about, and that's why I think I'm a little bit annoyed about this whole thing of, oh yeah, we can beat the bottom half, we can beat the teams in the bottom half of the table, but then when we come up against an actual proper team, we're shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's a bit brutal at the moment. Like, going to the stadium, especially at the moment when we're in such bad form.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's
hard when you're looking at your club on paper being a top 5 club in the MLS. But I think kind of what you said 7 minutes ago is that this could stem from a larger topic that me and you might need to debate on heavily.
Yeah, we'll dive into that for sure.
Okay, so we get a playoff game. Pretty much for me and you, whatever. I think this is kind of just like a slap in the face, seeing as how passionate we've been about this top 5. What does that earn you? What does a play-in playoff game earn you? The winner gets to travel further down to LA and play the Galaxy in a best of 3.
Yeah.
This is the worst case scenario.
Yeah, it really isn't it when you think about it. Like, it's either one of the LA teams, though. They've got, like, both of them, Miami. You've got to be looking at them as, like, the 3 real favorites for this cup.
I would actually put the Galaxy personally against LA or against Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's a whole different subject. But yeah, so I mean it's a shame because like we know we're gonna go through all of this emotional waves on Saturday and Wednesday, and we might also pay $40 to go to a play-in game. And then what does that earn us? A date to get basically a home guaranteed home and away against LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
Potentially 2 aways. But they also hold the best record at home in the MLS.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll know after the next week, though, right? Like everything is going to be revealed by
Saturday night.
Like we'll know like where we're going to play. We'll know if we're going to be at home. We'll know if we've managed to skip both, and we end up playing against LAFC, which is very unlikely, but it's still there. The possibility remains. So there's just a lot of fucking hypotheticals at the moment, I think.
Oh yeah, and I mean we could sit on here for another hour and talk about it, but we are at our hour mark, which is kind of exactly where we want it to be.
Yeah.
So I guess what's next from us is dissecting how this goes next week.
Yeah, the Real Salt Lake game. We'll dive right into that.
We'll dive
probably
right
a bit quicker. We'll maybe get on the Monday or the Tuesday. This one was a little bit late. We had a few things going on both ends.
It's holidays. It's all good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. And I guess we'll be back to discuss the playoffs.
All right.
That's all
for me. Night, everyone.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Caps Cast presented by Whitecaps Fan TV. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram listed below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content.